everybody, it's Catherine from JaynecatherineOnBooks, and we're still in hashtag March Mystery Madness 2021, and I thought I'd do a spotlight on an author today because recently, well, Saturday I think it was, we received the latest from the Railway Detective series by Edward Marston from the publisher Allison Busby. And it made me think, yeah, I know what, we could do a spotlight on Edward Marston, because he has written several series all in different historical period of time. So he writes mysteries and they are all from a different historical time period in the UK, and so you can mix and match whichever's your favourite time period really, but we've got some from all the series, and some of these amongst David's favourites of all time for his series. He really loves Edward Marston. So without further ado, let's get into it. I think you'll have heard me talk about him before, because I love some of the series myself. So I'm doing them in historical date order. So this is the Wolves of Savernake. Look at that lovely cover. Now this is from the Domesday series, and these are the new covers. I mean, that's gorgeous, even the back. So the publishers have set up a time period for having these all recovered from the Domesday series. So we've got the first three, this being the very first one. Then the next three were published at the end of February, so they are out for purchase now. Then there's a further three being recovered and redesigned, relaunched in May. And then there's two more in that series, which is, as far as we know, they will be coming out towards the end of this year. So there are 11 books in total in this series, and I've not read this. David's just read. Have you read all the three? David's read all the three. We've recently got these from the works, actually, in the UK. Gorgeous covers. The other ones were very drab and Domesday, yes, very. But these are really a lot more modern, and I think they're more enticing, really. So we're sort of in a period where 1086, so we have the Battle of Hastings in 1066, so we're William the Conqueror and all that, if you know your British history. And we've got a character called Ralph Delchard, who was a soldier in the Battle of Hastings, and he's been commissioned by William the Conqueror to look into irregularities, which have been brought to light during the compilation of the Domesday Book. Now the Domesday Book, in a way, was the first of its kind, first like census, where you've got documents and stats really from that period, and it's from that day on that really we've come to know the census, and we were asked to fill it in actually this 21st, which was Sunday. We got they just pick at random, I think, so many households, I think. No, not everybody has to do it. Oh, David says everybody has to do it. So if you're in the UK, you must have had your census. I keep calling it the consensus. What day have we got to do our consensus? Yeah, I didn't realise. I thought it was chosen at random. Oh right, but that makes sense really, because how could you look people up if not everybody did it? When you're going back and tracing your, not your hierarchy, but your heraldry and that sort of thing. Anyway, so we've got Ralph. We've also got Gervais Brett, who's the other protagonist in this, and off they go on solving a mystery and what's going on. Who's trying to scupple the information that's going in the Domesday documents. I don't know. So yeah, that's that one. Next, we're going to Elizabethan. I do like Elizabethan period. I always used to love Jean Plaidy back in the day when I was a teenager. I used to be riveted, and the Elizabethan period and the Tudor period was always my favourite. So this series from Edward Marston starts with book 1, because I've got all the book 1s out for you, because really these series, you do well to start from the beginning. There's a lot of involvement with all the characters and things, so really it's not the same. I did start in the middle of this one, and not without realising it, and some of it didn't make sense. So we've gone back to the beginning with the Queen's Head. So the first one is the Queen's Head. I've read this and enjoyed it. So the Elizabethan series is sometimes called the Nicholas Bracewell series, because he is our main character in here. And it's around the time when they used to have these theatre troupes that used to go around the UK taking their latest show, because that's how people used to get to see it. They never used to go far from home. They used to wait for this touring troupe to come to them. And he is, Nicholas Bracewell is part of this theatre troupe, and it's the Lord Westfield's Men. And as they're going around different parts of the UK, there always seems to be some mystery to be solved wherever he is, and he takes it upon himself to go out and get to the bottom of it all. So in this one it says his name was Will Fowler, an actor in the esteemed theatrical company called Lord Westfield's Men, a vibrant young man flushed from the success of a recent performance at the Queen's Head Theatre. So exuberant was he that he persuaded the resourceful manager of the company, Nicholas Bracewell, to quaff a pint or two at the nearby pub. Alas, it was to be Will's last taste of beer. A tavern brawl left him dead. Oh, lordy. But not before he gasped for Nicholas to find his fast-fleeting, red-bearded murderer. That took some saying. Fast-fleeting, red-bearded murderer. So yes, it's very good. And I've read 2. I've read 3 altogether, so I'm just slowly working my way through. So if you like Elizabethan period, that one for you. 16 books in total in that one. The next, the Restoration series. So the first one is The King's Evil. And the restoration of England is after the Great Fire of London. And just sort of the restoration of London, really, the restoration of everything that was destroyed. So they had the plague, 1065 they had the plague of London. I don't mean 1065, I'm still going in Battle of Hastings mode. 1665 was the plague of London, and then 1666 the Great Fire of London, and then followed the restoration time of rebuilding. And we have an architect. Our main protagonist is Christopher Redmayne. He is an architect, and also there's a constable of London, Jonathan Bale. They don't get on, these two, they don't get on all that well, but I think they're tasked to root out some sort of mysterious thing that's going on. And yeah, I think that should be a good series. I've not started that yet, but I do like around the plague and you know, mysteries around the plague that and the Fire of London times. Yeah, so The King's Evil, book 1 of the Restoration series. Then what we're going on to, I have to just check my notes, there's 6 books in that series. Then we're going to the Spanish War of Succession. So we're going to the 1700s, and the first one is Soldier of Fortune, and this is Daniel Rawson. So he's our character in this. Now, this wouldn't be one for me. This isn't, I can't be doing with all these foot soldiers marching and you know, going to war on foot, and goodness me, it must be heavy going, that. Just charging to war all on foot and fighting like that. Goodness me. So it's not my sort of book, so I wouldn't read this particular series. But David, have you read them all? David's read them all and enjoyed them. So if this time period is for you, then you can't get much better than Edward Marston's writing. So in 1704, Europe is at war. As I say, we're in the Spanish War of Succession. And we're going back to Churchill's great-great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather or whatever, but some relation going back of Churchill's, as everybody knows of Winston Churchill. And Captain Daniel Rawson has been sent on a mission to lead his men into battle against the French army. And it's not a period of history that I know all that much about, I have to say. But Rawson is the target of the murderous General Savernake, who will stop at nothing to see his adversary dead. As Rawson and his men march across the continent, he must keep one step ahead of Savernake's brigands and live to fight heroically at the Battle of Blenheim. So if that is your bag, this is a great series. There's 5 books in this series. And next, one of my favourites, the Bow Street Rivals. So of the time of the Bow Street Rivals, and this is the early 1800s. Shadow of the Hangman is the first in this series, and I really enjoyed doing this period of history in history lessons about the Bow Street runners and sort of the hue and cry of the crowd. If there was a baddie or robbery going on or something, they'd all start shouting, and then the Bow Street runners, and this is in London, the Bow Street gang, they then used to chase after them and clip around the ear hole for being naughty. But this is a really interesting series. In different parts of the country in the UK, they used to have different, they're called the Bow Street Rival, the Bow Street Runners were in that particular part of London. This is about a rival group to them, and the thief takers, really. That's what they are. Their title is thief takers, but they became known by the area that their manor, shall we say, of where they used to look after. And this is about the Bow Street Rivals, which is the Skillen twins, and they are off on a mission, really, to chase down some wrongdoing that's happening. And they're very good characters. I really do like the characters of these two. You get a very good sense about what it was like in the 1800s in Britain, and you also sense the rivalry that's going on between the different gangs of thief takers, really. You know, there's a lot of competition, shall we say, going on. They all want to be top dog. So I've read 3 of these, and we're waiting. It is still an ongoing series, so we are waiting for the next one to come. So I'm really interested in that. I'm going to start at the beginning again, because it's a few years since I read the first. I think I've only read 2, actually, the first 2. The next one in this series, where are we? Let's have a look. Bow Street Rivals is Step to the Gallows. So I have read that. So we're just waiting for a release. But yeah, a really interesting period in British history there. Then the big series that really Edward Marston is renowned for is the Railway Detective series. And Currently, number 19 has just come out, and I'll show you in a minute because this is the one that we've been sent by the publisher, and I'm just going to double check. Yes, it's book 19, and that is coming out in April. But first of all, I'll just show you book 1. So book 1, the Railway Detective series. There's 20 books, although this is number 19. So yeah, there's 20 because we've got a compilation as well, stories. So 20, but the latest one's really book 19 in the proper scheme of things. And this is featuring Inspector Robert Colbeck and his sidekick Leeming. So this is in the 1850s. Again, we're in London, and it's very exciting because any books that are around the Great Exhibition in London, I'm there. Because I do enjoy, Kerry Ann and I read one. Last year we did a buddy read. Can't think what it was now, what it was called. And that was based around the Great Exhibition, and the guy went out into the sticks of Yorkshire to investigate why his cousin had been murdered. I can't think of the name of the book. You might remember better than me if you've been here a while. But anything around the Great Exhibition I find very fascinating. And this again is the opening of the Great Exhibition. Interest is mounting in engineering triumphs of the railways, but not everyone feels like celebrating. In an audacious attack, the London to Birmingham mail train is robbed and derailed, causing many casualties. Planned with military precision, this crime proves a challenge to Detective Inspector Robert Colbeck, who fights to untangle a web of murder, blackmail and destruction. David's read all of them. He's up to date with them. He really loves this series. I've only ever read this one because it's just time, isn't it? I've got so many other series and other things that I love reading. It's fitting them all in. But that's book 1. So the publisher has very kindly sent us, this is gorgeous. I wonder which station this is at. Looks a bit like Scarborough, but I know it won't be, but it looks a bit like it. This is Tragedy on the Branch Line. This is the latest one, hot off the press. They've sent us the beautiful finished copy, just the naked hardcover. Beautiful. And I do recommend that you read these, try and read these in order, because, within the space of 19 books, there's been a lot of life changes for Colbeck and I want to call him Cleaver. Leeming. Don't know why I want to call him Cleaver. And it's all part of it, but you can read them as standalone. But when Bernard Pomeroy finds a letter slipped under his door in the early hours, he flies into a panic. After dashing off a short note to his friend, he hands it to the porter at Corpus Christi College before hastening on to the railway station and boarding a train leaving Cambridge. However, shortly after disembarking at his destination, the undergraduate lies dead on the platform. Ooh. Inspector Colbeck and Sergeant Leeming are summoned by the master of the college to investigate Pomeroy's untimely demise. With the boat race on the horizon, the president of the Cambridge Boat Club believes they're Oxford rivals responsible for the death of their Cox, who had been heralded in the press for his talent. Yet it seems Pomeroy has ruffled many feathers during his short time at university. With academic disputes, sporting rivalry and a clandestine romance in play, the railway detective will have to disentangle the many threads of Pomeroy's life in order to answer the truth about his death. Now that sounds thrilling to me, and I think I could read that as a standalone. I'm sure you could, because that just sounds really great. It says, a grand romp, very much in tradition of Holmes and Watson, packed with characters Dickens would have been proud of. Once again, Marston has created a credible atmosphere within an intriguing story. So that is really praise indeed. See, I'm just having a look at the press release, see if there's anything else of note that you'd like to know about. I mean, Edward Marsden has written over 100 books. That's some going, that is. And they are very well written. You know, he's got a very good, easy writing style that I think draws you in very quickly. But it's not pretentious writing, as I call it. Sometimes some writing can be over flowery, I feel. And he's just got a lovely style about it that you just so easy to read, but they're also very intriguing, and also they have the characters. He amazes me how he's got like 3 series is he writing on the go or whatever, and yet he manages to get such different characters in each of the series, and I think that takes some doing. It said Marston made the top 50 most borrowed adult author list in the most recent figures. So I mean, really, we are proof that both I read these. David's read every single series. He's really up to date on them. They're his favourites. Whereas I'm catching up. I've got a long way to go with this at book 19, haven't I? But just look at that. Feast your eyes on that. I think that would be a very nice book to read with an intriguing plot to it if you've never read any. And obviously you haven't got time to be starting at book 1. That if you want to read book 19, you don't want to be starting at book 1 and work your way through straight away, do you? Then just read this. So thank you very much to Allison and Busby for sending us the lovely copy. It came out it comes out on the 22nd of April. Forgetting what month we're in. It's because we've been locked down that long, we've forgotten. It's the 23rd today, so it's exactly a year that the UK lockdown started. And we're back in it, but hopefully we've only got another fortnight to go. Fingers crossed. Don't hold your breath. Final series, and my favourite, and I'm sure if you've been with me a while, you know this is my very favourite, the Homefront Detective series. And yeah, I mean it's last in the time period, but also it's funny that it's my favourite. So there's 8 books so far in this, and it's ongoing, and this is the first one, Bespoke Murder. So this is Inspector Harvey Marmion and Joe Creedy. His sidekick in this is Joe Creedy, and I really love these characters. I am up to date with these, so we're just waiting for the next one to come out. We don't have a date for that yet, but this is set through the Great War, and you get to know a bit about their home life as well. And Marmion is very much of the time period where a detective, where things have to be worked methodical and to the book, and everything has to be just right. And I think at times Joe Creedy's a bit heavy going for him, I think. Yeah, so Creedy's a bit too modern, I think, in his views on things sometimes, but he's a very good detective. And also Joe starts courting Marmion's daughter. I'll not say any more about that, but you know what fathers are like for looking after the daughters, and no man is good enough. It's a bit like that. But in this first one, it's May 1915. While thousands of Britons fight in the trenches, a severely depleted police force remains behind to keep the home front safe. In London, the sinking of the Lusitania sparks an unprecedented wave of anti-German riots and arson attacks across the city. Among the victims is the immigrant tailor Jacob Stein, found dead in his burnt-out shop. Detective Inspector Harvey Marmion and Sergeant Joe Keedy must take on this case of cover-ups and contradictions and track down Jacob's killer, a hunt which carries them from the crime-ridden streets of wartime London to the chaos on the front line. But is the murder simply the result of the tragic excess of wartime hysteria, or perhaps a more premeditated crime? And yeah, it's excellent. It's a really good story. In fact, I think I've read this twice, which is unusual for me. Yeah, just love it. I love this series. And it's a period of history like, you know, the Great War, the Second World War. There's some fantastic literature around that time period. But the Homefront Detective series, and I highly recommend it. So there we go. I hope that's been enjoyable for you. I'm sure within those series that there'll be some time period that you're really interested in, or if you just in general you love, you know, really good mysteries and you know, with that historical background to them, then I highly recommend anything that Edward Marston puts out there, because he's an excellent author, very entertaining, and yeah, I think you need to try him out if you haven't already. So yes, thank you so much for joining me today. I don't know what I was looking for there. Don't forget, if you have enjoyed today's video, give a like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know if you've read any of Edward Marston's in the comments down below, and keep safe out there. Till next time, bye for now.